Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
Liat assures it will remain in the air amid reports it could be grounded. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Friday, March 1st. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. Financially strapped regional airline Liat on Friday moved to reassure customers that it will continue to service the region. The Antigua-based carrier moved quickly to give that assurance in response to reports that the airline is facing severe financial problems and could possibly be grounded in the coming days. It was Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley who disclosed that Liat needs an immediate cash injection of $5 million or it could face a shutdown. Speaking to journalists on Thursday night on his return from the CARICOM intersessional meeting in St. Kitts, he reported that the airline only has enough cash to operate for the next 10 days. Rowley said one of Liat's problems is flying uneconomic routes with loads that are heavily subsidized.
If Liat ceases to fly, I need not tell you the economic and other impact that that would have on the region. While Trinidad and Tobago does not rely heavily on Liat for transportation, the other territories are virtually at the mercy of a Liat service. However, the discussion understood quite clearly that this is a matter for the shareholders of Liat. So Trinidad and Tobago is not in that category. However, a decision had been taken by the shareholders of Liat, who are largely Barbados, Dominica, Antigua, and others, St. Vincent, that they will have to act in emergency to ensure that Liat stays flying.
In a statement issued on Friday after Rowley's comments were widely reported, Liat's Chief Executive Officer Julie Reefer-Jones acknowledged that the airline is in a challenging financial situation, but she said it has continued flying throughout the region with support from its principal shareholders, the governments of Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Dominica, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The airline CEO also pointed out, though, that the airline has also been operating to destinations where there has been no support from governments. Liat operates 491 flights weekly to 15 destinations. Reefer-Jones said current discussions with regional governments are intended to set new arrangements to share the burden among all countries benefiting from Liat's services. She added that all stakeholders will also be required to make adjustments to ensure that the airline's operations are viable. Earlier this week, Antigua and Barbuda Prime Minister Gaston Brown said shareholder governments would need to do what is necessary in order to save the airline. Liat is currently undergoing a restructuring exercise which it says is expected to improve its operations. The Guyana government will have to wait a bit longer to hear whether the Court of Appeal will grant its request for an interim conservatory order and stay in the application of the High Court decision to uphold the December 21st no-confidence vote passed against it. HGP-TV's Javon Vickery explains why.
After a few minutes of arguments in the appellate court on Thursday, the applicants all agreed to have all written arguments submitted to the court and then present oral arguments on March 15. Justice Singh assured that once this process is followed, a decision will be made in the three matters in the shortest possible time. Outside the courthouse, former Attorney General Anil Nandalal expressed disappointment at the way the process of hearings is ongoing. He says he now has no faith in the system.
I think the court proceedings have already begun to be a waste of time, which is unfortunate for me to say so, but that's the reality. After the 21st of March, the time frame would have expired. The court can't stop that time from running after that. So the no confidence motion would have completed to have its effect, and that can be reversed by any court.
Nandalal further claimed that the errors pointed out by Justice Prasad remained untouched 1 week after the first hearing. He stated the reason he opposed to the interim stay.
None of the mistakes which were identified on the last occasion were corrected. They were not corrected, so the appeals by themselves are all defective, all of them. The mistakes which were identified are still there, but the judge was very kind today, I suppose, and one didn't want to rustle any feathers, so he brushed the thing over. But all the mistakes are there. In fact, they have been multiplied this time.
Meanwhile, Attorney General Basil Williams reiterated that the government filed an interim stay as a means of upholding the principles of the Constitution. He further said that the government is not in a state of fear over the remaining period stipulated by the Constitution for the resignation of the coalition administration.
There's no time running out.
So then why you apply for the stay if no time is running out?
To maintain the status quo, keep the cabinet in place, etc. Listen, let me tell you definitively now. There's no drop-dead date after 90 days. There were two options given inside that same provision, 30 days or a longer period.
The Attorney General further noted that the contention of the government is that an important piece of legislation, Article 106.7 in the Constitution, is inaccurate.
106.7 is an erroneous provision. Why is it erroneous? Because it purports to repose in the government the conduct of elections. And the government does not have the conduct of elections. The party given the conduct of elections by our Constitution is the Ghana Elections Commission. And there are a set of provisions dealing with that, to 161 to 162, where they have the absolute remit for the conduct of elections.
Staying in Guyana, the government and opposition leader Barrett Jagdeo are engaged in a war of words after Jagdeo accused President David Granger of fraudulent behavior. Jagdeo had claimed the Office of the Presidency issued two versions of a letter to the chairman of the Ghana Elections Commission, GECOM, in response to the electoral body's correspondence that it could not hold credible elections by the March 19th date prescribed by the Constitution following government's no-confidence motion loss. Speaking at a press conference on Thursday, Jagdeo said Granger had sent one letter to the GECOM chairman and released a different one to the public. But Minister of State Joseph Harmon on Thursday night accused Jagdeo of descending to a new level of disrespect for the office of the presidency and the government by maligning Granger's good character and his office and by deliberately, maliciously misleading the public. He refuted Jagdeo's claim, saying that there are indeed two letters and insisting that the first letter was not doctored.
So there are two letters correct. The first letter is an acknowledgement of the chairman of the Elections Commission's letter. The second letter refers to the first letter. It says that I wrote you earlier and I'm now saying further. So how could you now say that this is something that is doctored when you, the author of that letter, acknowledges that I did send one and this is the second one I'm sending? So if Dr. Jagdeo, Mr. Jagdeo, the leader of the opposition, wants to go ahead and rant and rave, as seemed to have been the case here, refusing to answer questions, legitimate questions posed by the media, then it is all his right to do so. But I believe that for the good governance of this country, for the order of this country, that the leader of the opposition should avail himself of sound advice and respond in a manner that is befitting the office of the leader of the opposition.
The Minister of State says he is appalled by the allegation against Granger and the attack on his religion by Jagdeo.
The president has never descended to that level to describe Mr. Jagdeo or anybody in that way, that he is now seeking to describe the president with disrespect. And this is something that I believe not only the government will take very seriously, but all Christians, all people of religion all across the world must recognize that this is an attack on the religion of the president, an attack on order and good governance, and he must be condemned in the strongest possible terms for this level to which he has sunk in this press conference.
Still to come in Caribbean Newsline, Caribbean countries urge to amend discriminatory laws and policies. We'll tell you who's making the call after the break.
Don't jump up to this non-stop turn and twist.
What up, it's your boy French Montana.
It's me, Smokey Robinson.
It's your boy David Doe.
Hi, I'm Elmay.
This is Buju Banton, and I'll be performing live with the Shiloh Band in St. Kitts Music Festival.
Don't miss the 23rd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival, June 26th to June 30th, 2019. Featuring Buju Banton, Smokey Robinson, Popcorn, and Elmay. Also, Davido, French Montana, Fimba, Edwin Yearwood and Crossfire, Coco T, Skinny Fabulous, Shal Marshall, Charlie Black, Farmer Nappy, Nadia Batson, Infamous, New Vibes Band, and many, many more. It will be epic. It will be mind-blowing. It will be jaw-dropping. It will be awesome. The St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other. For more information and to buy tickets, log on to www.stkittsmusicfestival.com.
Welcome back. The Joint United Nations Program on HIV and AIDS has called on Caribbean countries to make changes to discriminatory laws and policies to ensure equality, inclusion, and protection. In a statement issued on Friday to mark Zero Discrimination Day, UNAIDS said such laws and practices are a significant barrier for access to health and other services and are also contributing to human rights violations. It said last year at least 20 countries imposed travel restrictions of some form against people living with HIV. Nearly 29 countries reported that they require the consent of a woman's husband or partner for her to access sexual and reproductive health services. And 59 countries reported mandatory HIV testing for marriage, work or residence permits, or certain groups of people in the law, regulations, or policies, while 17 countries criminalized transgender people. Well, it's time now for Newsline Entertainment. Trinidad and Dominica prepare to play Mass this weekend. Judges of this year's MASH in Guyana hail the improvements in costumes, and Jamaica's reggae stalwarts are honored. CMC's Mary-Claire Williams has those stories.
It's Carnival weekend. The weekend officially began in Trinidad early Friday morning with the reenactment of the Canboulay riots of 1881. And tonight is the big night with the International Soca Monarch competition. 8 finalists will vie for the title of Groovy Soca Monarch, and another 8 will compete in the Power Soca competition. Will Mr. Killer run with it? And who will be the Road March of 2019? These are some of the most important questions that will only be answered on the weekend. And while most of the Twin Island Republic will be fetting, the police will be going all out to ensure that the revelers are safe.
These officers who are even in administrative, logistic, financial departments, they will all be coming out in uniform. We intend to ensure, again, numerical supremacy and to make sure that each and every aspect of any concern can be dealt with, but we need to have the numbers. So we have put out all stops. That is why we are still on red alert, where we're trying to get the maximum use and effectiveness of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service throughout until Ash Wednesday.
5 beauties will vie for the title of Miss Dominica on Friday night. They will reign for the next year alongside the Calypso Monarch, who will be crowned on Saturday night at Carnival City in Roseau. The highlight of the weekend in Roseau and Port of Spain will be the parade of costume bands, and the curtains will come down on this year's festivities with Last Lap on Tuesday evening. Judges at the Mashramani Festival in Guyana say they were impressed with the improvement of costumes. 20 bands were judged as they made their way through the streets of Georgetown last weekend. Chief Judge Lorraine Barker King said there was a marked improvement over the previous years.
To me, like, people now understand ministries and other entities. They understand now the concept behind the costume. And I think they had a problem before with the theme, understanding how to put it into actual costume, and I think they have grasped that a lot.
Jamaica celebrated over 100 stalwarts of its music industry this week at the Reggae Gold Awards. The awards were presented in 5 categories: the Hall of Fame, Media Award, Icon Award, Honor Award, and Reggae Gold Award. Among the awardees were former Prime Ministers Edward Seaga and P.J. Patterson, as well as Toots Hibbert, Millie Small, Burning Spear, and Lee Scratch Perry. Mary-Claire Williams, Newsline Entertainment.
Ahead in Newsline Sport, veteran batsman Chris Gayle warns teams not, in the upcoming Cricket World Cup, not to take West Indies lightly. Stay with us.
Hello. I want to tell you about a brand new talk show that I'll be hosting called Changing Steps with D. Belinda Baker. It's a show that's dear and close to my heart, and it's named after my treatment center that I formed in 2002.
Sometimes, you know, we don't know who to talk to. We're scared to talk. How did God play a part in your life?
No, not the first time.
It happened over and over.
After I had the baby.
Okay. So Aces, I introduced you earlier and I mentioned about the balancing act between motherhood and your career. Yes. How is that?
I always say get a calendar. That is what's helping me get through, because I don't remember everything. You know, when we have babies, we tend to forget everything. So I always say keep a calendar, keep it pushing, never ever forget your dreams, because sometimes we'll do that and we're not satisfied in life.
Down here, and you just hold them all together and cut it into neat, tiny little cubes. You don't want it too big. You want it into fine cubes. And same with the carrots, we're going to do it in really small cubes. The pepper as well, and the onion. And the lime, we're going to just squeeze that in. So I blended everything. This is the corelli, the onion, the carrots, and the pepper. You see how fine everything is? This is how we want it.
On to our weekend sports now. Veteran West Indies batsman Chris Gayle has warned teams in the upcoming ICC World Cup not to take the Caribbean side lightly, despite their underdog status heading into the competition. The Caribbean side are ranked 9th in the world and have already been written off by pundits. But Gayle said that once they play their natural brand of cricket, they could make a mark at the May 30th to July 14th showpiece in England.
The World Cup is always going to be a pressure tournament, to be honest with you. And, you know, there's no one looking at us as favourite, you know, so we shouldn't actually put ourselves under that strenuous pressure. We should just go out there and, you know, play what we know how to play the Caribbean style of cricket. And eventually, you know, teams actually fear us and respect us as we go on by how you started it in the World Cup as well. So those are the things, those things are very, very key and very important for us.
Gayle announced his intentions to be part of the World Cup squad prior to the start of the ongoing England one-day series, and has all but sewn up his spot with 2 exhilarating hundreds and a half-century in his 3 innings. His 162 in Wednesday's 4th match was his 25th ODI 100 and took him past the 10,000-run mark in the shorter format. He is only the 2nd West Indies batsman behind Brian Lara to achieve the feat. 39-year-old Gayle, who also announced he would retire following the World Cup, said reaching the landmark had been a satisfying accomplishment, but he stressed he needed to stay in shape in order to be at his best in coming months. Cricket West Indies President Dave Cameron has hailed the outstanding late Jamaican cricket journalist Tony Becker as a champion whose body of work was virtually unparalleled. Becker passed away Thursday in his homeland at age 78 following a brief illness. Cameron said while he did not always agree with Becker, he always respected his views on the game, drawn from the depth and width of his experience covering the sport. He said his fellow Jamaican had a good innings and his mark will long be remembered on the cricket pitches of the West Indies and beyond. Cameron said in a statement, quote, "West Indies cricket has lost a champion who spent his distinguished career chronicling the ups and downs of the sport he loved so much. Tony Becker has always made an effort to be fair in his writings about West Indies cricket. For over 4 decades, he helped this region understand the game. His body of work is one which will be difficult to replicate," end quote. Becker was a former editor of the Jamaica Gleaner newspaper, and he covered West Indies cricket extensively across the globe for nearly half a century. In 2005, he was inducted into the Cricket Hall of Fame in Hartford, Connecticut, for his contribution to the development of the sport in the United States. Turning our attention now to the 9th round matches of the Regional 4-Day Championship, Barbados Pride opener Shane Mosley struck his 8th first-class 50, but a late slide halted his side's rally and left leaders Guyana Jaguars still with the edge on a compelling second day of action on Friday. Trailing by 125 after Jaguars were dismissed at 201 in their first innings, Pride finished the day at the Guyana National Stadium on 228 for 6, a lead of 103 heading into Saturday's penultimate day. Mosley top scored with 64 from 120 balls with 11 boundaries, while fellow left-hander Jonathan Carter carved out an attacking 47. Captain Shamar Brooks finally tasted form but failed to build on his 44, while wicketkeeper Tevin Walcott was unbeaten on 28 at the close. Over at the Arnasville Stadium in St. Vincent, Trinidad and Tobago Red Force, leading Windward Islands Volcanoes by 107 runs, were 4 without loss in their second innings at the close of the day's play. The Trinidad and Tobago Cycling Federation is facing legal action by a cyclist who has been omitted from the national team. Attorneys for Quincy Alexander have sent a pre-action protocol letter to the association claiming unfair treatment by national coach Erwin Hartwell, which led him to being excluded from the national teams for the UCI World Cups and the Track Cycling World Championships currently taking place in Poland, and that's although he clocked better times than the riders who were selected. The attorneys say that due to the treatment, Alexander's earning potential was severely affected since his exclusion materially reduces his international exposure and decreases the incidence of sponsorship and other financial opportunities. The lawyers have dismissed Coach Hartwell's claims that Alexander's inability to secure a place on the team was due to absence or late attendance, particularly when evaluation was being conducted. They insist that their client attends all possible training sessions and diligently adheres to his training regime. The attorneys also indicated that Alexander is of the view that the Federation's racing committee places improper weight on Hartwell's advice and wholly fails in its duty to interrogate his rationale. Jamaica's Reggae Girls managed to cough up a 1-0 victory over Chile in their friendly international at the National Stadium on Thursday night. Central midfielder Marlo Sweetman got the all-important goal in the 9th minute when she scored directly from a corner kick. The home team had been made to defend stoutly in the latter stages of the contest, more than they were required to do in an opening stanza where they took command. Jamaica took the lead when Chile conceded a corner kick down their right side when Denisha Blackwood's run down the channel was put behind. Sweetman came across for the corner, and instead of going for the typical lofted ball in, the Hungary-based midfielder went for a low right-footed drive straight at goal, which crept under goalkeeper Christine Endler and into the goal. The FIFA World Cup bound Jamaicans, who are fine-tuning for the big showpiece in France June 7th to July 7th, will turn their attention to the second encounter of the 2-match series against the South Americans in Montego Bay on Sunday. Staying on the football field, Trinidad and Tobago head coach Dennis Lawrence says he's pushing his team to the limit as they prepare for the friendly against Wales on March 20th. They went through a training session at the home of football at the Atto Bolden Stadium before giving the media an idea of what will happen when the two teams meet. The details in this TV6 Sport report.
After a lengthy break, the national football team are now looking for rhythm against a familiar opponent. Familiar as in they know most of these players that play in the English Premier League. Coach of the team, Dennis Lawrence, says that they know it will be challenging, but he has a plan.
First thing we had to do is we had to get them active again. The emphasis over the last week has been trying to get them some sort of fitness, which is the volume inside of them, so we can able to increase the intensity. We're going to be playing against players that have had 25 games in the English Premier League plus. So it's not going to be easy, but we're going to try.
Attila Guerra, who has been Lawrence's choice up front in recent matches, says he does not mind going head-to-head with Wales.
We expect to be very physical towards the game and a high-intensity game, very fast playing football, you know, off and on the pitch, and, you know, because at the end of the day, they need to get a result. Likewise, they're going to be playing home and we need to get a result. So it's going to be a big test for us and we are looking forward to the challenge.
Goalkeeper in the team, Adrian Fonset, believes it will be a good test ahead of the Gold Cup.
It's really important to have games like this, you know, leading up to the Gold Cup. The Gold Cup is one of the biggest tournaments that we from the Caribbean here playing outside of the World Cup. So with these kind of games beforehand, I think that we should be really prepared for the Gold Cup coming up.
Lawrence will be there to guide the team for that tournament as well. He believes it's for the better.
It's a positive in terms of continuity. As I said before, when I first came, it was a twofold, two-tier plan. We're into the second phase of the two-tier plan, which is our progression and our development into trying to qualify for Qatar 2022.
And that's the sport. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Really sure what he's saying, he don't discuss it. A righteous man walks the earth without judgment and loves his enemies enough to deliver.
Take the L at the mall, walking with the sex. Take the L at your bra. Now she can't go. I've been hoping someone will love you, let me go.
Viendo el océano al amanecer, no se enamore, ya lo quiere hacer, no quiere retroceder. All over the world, to every boy, every girl, yeah, yeah. Spread it all over the world.
I swear I won't lie. Soon as you walk out the door, tell me why. I realize.
My girl, you a champion. My girl, you a my girl, you a champion. My girl, you a champion.
Don't jump up to this non-stop turn and twist.
What up? It's your boy French Montana.
It's me, Smokey Robinson.
It's your boy Davido.
Hi, I'm Elme.
This is Buju Banton and I'll be performing live for the Shine Band in St. Kitts Music Festival.
Don't miss the 23rd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival, June 26th to June 30th, 2019. Featuring Buju Banton, Smokey Robinson, Popcorn, and Elme. Also, Davido, French Montana, Fimba, Edwin Yearwood and Crossfire, Coco T, Skinny Fabulous, Shal Marshall, Charlie Black, Farmer Nappy, Nadia Batson, Infamous, New Vibes Band, and many, many more. It will be epic. It will be mind-blowing. It will be jaw-dropping. It will be awesome. The St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other. For more information and to buy tickets, log on to www.stkittsmusicfestival.com.
Again, the major developments of this day. Liat assures it will remain in the air after Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister reports that the airline needs an immediate cash injection of $5 million to avoid a shutdown. And in sport, veteran West Indies batsman Chris Gayle warns teams in the upcoming ICC World Cup not to take the Caribbean side lightly despite their underdog status heading into the competition. And that's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, subscribe to CanonNews.com, and for more of our programming, log on to CaribVision.tv and check out our YouTube channel. We'll be back here again on Monday. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and have yourselves a good night and a safe weekend.